But it's time now for Uncancelled. And this is where Britain's top commentators speak out on controversial issues without the fear of the cancel culture sweeping the rest of the media. Now, while the MSM continues to dodge the topic of vaccine damage, Brave MP Christopher Chope demanded answers in Parliament last week. Now, Chope was a group of MPs who took part in the Westminster Hall debate after a petition calling for a public inquiry into the use of jabs during the pandemic reached 100,000 signatures, the threshold required for a topic to be considered in the Commons. It was a win for freedom fighters. However, participants, like my next guest, Bev Turner, were left horrified when the newspaper of record, The Times, casually dismissed them as anti-vaxxers. Referring to her in particular, the hit piece said the petition was promoted by celebrity anti-vaxxers, including Bev Turner, the presenter of This Morning, who was taken off air last year after she urged viewers to refuse vaccinations. Well, Bev Turner, who I'm very excited to say has a brand new show launching here on GBNews on Monday morning, joins me now to set the record straight. I mean, Bev Turner, we bumped into each other yesterday here at the studio and we're both shocked by this piece because it really feels like it could have been written right in the hysteria of 2020, and it's shocking that journalists are not educating themselves.
Well, to go back a little bit, Dan, actually, from the debate in Parliament, a few days earlier, actually, on the day that Liz Truss resigned, there was an all-party parliamentary group discussion in Westminster. And I went to that, and that had Sir Christopher Chope there, and it had Andrew Bridgen MP, and it had a fantastic MP, actually, Danny Kruger, who is the son of Chef Prue Leith. And they were the only MPs, sadly, that turned up for the all-party parliamentary group discussion. But there must have been about 100 to 120 people in the room who were either vaccine injured or vaccine bereaved. And this was really the start of these poor people who have had a terrible time being heard. They have not been, their stories have not been mentioned in the mainstream media. And so we had this all-party parliamentary group there. There were no journalists in attendance, apart from me. There were a couple of others actually from GBNews. And it was a very frustrating experience, clearly, for the vaccine injured. Subsequent to that was the parliamentary debate that you mentioned, because of the petition that reached 100,000 signatures, hosted by Sir Christopher Chope with similar MPs in attendance. And really, all that was meant to do was, as you say, debate the efficacy of the vaccines, and therefore have the conversation that many of us have been arguing for over 2 years now, which is that it should always have been on an individual risk versus benefit analysis for each person, regardless based on your age and your health status, etc. Because what we did was we vaccinated everybody regardless of those very important factors. And it was just really shocking then to see that not only did it not get picked up by the mainstream press in any way, shape or form, but the one article that they did, Dan, as you say, in the Times, written by some young journalist called George Grills, basically depicted this as a bunch of lunatics, including myself. And as you say, to label me as not just an anti-vaxxer, but a celebrity anti-vaxxer. And I think he was stretching the definition of both those words, Dan. I've never had that before. It's a bit like being a chef and then suddenly you're a celebrity chef, like it was another level up. And I can't believe we're still using that word without any sort of explanation on the journalist part of what they think that even means. I can't believe we're still seeing that in print. It's just so reductive. And it's just so stupid. And I kind of genuinely think there's been a detached kind of a disinterest by so much of the British media in the last couple of years. They were either peddling the overwhelming narrative or just didn't really care. And I can just maybe presume that young George Grills, who looks about 22 on his Twitter bio, sat down and wrote a lazy bit of copy in the afternoon and went, who's Bev Turner? Oh yeah, she's that celebrity anti-vaxxer. Who's Sir Christopher Chope? I mean, the way that he quoted Sir Christopher as though he was some sort of maverick, and he was quoting data from the British Medical Journal, from the German health organization, which regulates medicine. He was quoting a fantastically fascinating but deeply depressing study from America, from the Journal of American Medical Association, which said that children who'd had the jabs, aged 5 and under, 1 in 500 of them needed hospital treatment. That's so serious was the effects of the vaccine for those babies. And this isn't something that should just be brushed away and go, oh, well, these people don't exist. We're just going to ignore them.
Well, of course. And we know, Bev, because GBNews is the only platform really to give these poor folk a platform. We know the horror stories of these poor souls who have lost legs, lost husbands, lost wives, lost sons, lost daughters. And at the very least, you would hope that the newspaper of record was prepared to give them a voice, given the government, Bev, has paid out, the £120,000. So there is confirmation of vaccine damage. So I think it was a really depressing moment, actually, because it shows how far the rest of the media comes, just to acknowledge so much of what's gone on the past years. And that's really all people want, Bev, just acknowledgement.
Absolutely. And they deserve it. And this also, what I think is really important to point out is that people like me and like you and other presenters who've been trying to effectively give both sides of the story. That is all we have ever wanted to do. And we aren't here telling people, this article that was in the Times said, and celebrity anti-vaxxer Bev Turner, who was on this morning urging people not to get the vaccine. I have never done that. I have never done that. I've always been very careful. What I've always advocated for is informed consent, and therefore you understand the potential risks. And these people who have been injured or widowed didn't know those risks. And in a way that's...
And by the way, you can't call them anti-vaxxers, can you? Because they had the jab, and in many cases it completely ruined their lives. But look, Bev, I just want to ask you quickly, what can you tell me about the new show, which I believe is Monday to Thursday, GBNews in the morning?
That's right, Dan. Yeah, 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 till 12, Monday to Thursday. As regular GBNews viewers will know, I've been sitting in, I've done holiday cover for pretty much every show on your channel except you, Dan.
I've asked you before, you've turned me down.
Well, listen, there's very few men I will keep my bra on until 11:15 at night. You are one of them. This is well past bra off o'clock, as the ladies on the sofa will confirm. So I'm delighted to announce it on your show tonight. I can't wait. I start on Monday. Bev Turner today. We're just going to have panel debate, all the news stories, lots of honesty, lots of open conversation, and lots of viewers' input as well.
I cannot wait. So you've got Dan Wootton tonight, 9 p.m. Monday to Thursday. Bev Turner today, 10 a.m. till midday on GBNews. GBNews just became even more must-watch. Bev, good luck. You know I will be watching.